Hi guys, it's me. It is Wednesday. You're supposed to be watching this video on Wednesday. And we're moving on to the law of cosine. So we just did the law of sines, you took your quizzes, and now we're moving on to 5.6, the law of cosines. So if you look at your do now, if you're following along with the notes, it says, can a law of sines be used to solve a triangle if only the given information is known? Okay, so for law of sines, we have to remember that law of sines was only used for what we did was for AS, and ASA. You could also use it for SSA, but we didn't do that just because it's way too confusing to teach over a computer. So that's separate. But so we used it with AAS and ASA, right? Angle, angle, side, and angle, side, angle. So if we look down here, so we can't use the law of sines for side, 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 right? That's not one of the ones we're able to use it for. ASA is yes, right? ASA is what we use law of sines with. SSA, again, not that you knew that, but we're going to put yes. And SAS is no. This is, again, these are the only two that we were using for law of sines. So for SAS, it's going to be no. All right. So what's going to happen is the ones that we use no, the ones that we answer no for, right? The SSS, side, 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 and side, angle, side. Well, we're going to use the law of cosines. And what that means is, okay, here we go. So let me show you this first, solving for sides. Okay, so you have this on your paper already, okay? So when I give you these formulas, right here, that's used for solving for sides, okay? And then we're going to come back up in a little bit, and we're going to figure out how to solve for angles, all right? So that's how you solve for angles, but I'll give you a minute to write that down in a little bit. Okay, so, oh, hold on. Okay, so let me get my, sorry, peeps. I'm not sure what I'm doing. Oh, no. Wow, give me a minute here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so sorry about that. So, what I want to do with the first example, do you see it says that suppose that two sides of a triangle have lengths of 3 centimeters and 7 centimeters, and the included angle is 130 degrees. Find the third side. Okay, so when I talk about the given information, remember, you have two sides and the included angle. So that means you have side, angle, side. So because we have side, angle, side, we know we have to use the law of cosines. Okay, does that make sense? That goes back up to what we just did, where we established what we use for law of sines and what we use for law of cosines, given specific information. So again, because we're given side, angle, side, we have to use law of cosines. So let's draw our triangle. I'm going to call these sides, I'm going to call these angles A, B, and C to make it easy on ourselves. So I'm going to draw my triangle, and it's going to look exactly like this. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so here's my triangle A, B, C. Here's my side 3 centimeters. Here's the other side 7 centimeters. And the included angle goes between the two given sides. So that's 130 degrees. Okay, so what you're going to do, look at how I labeled my triangle. I labeled it A, B, C. So the side I'm solving for is across from angle B. So I'm going to call that side B, little b, right? Okay, so let's go back up here then. Here's your little b. I'm solving for the side. So I'm going to set up b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine b. All right, so let's jot that down, which I did over here. I said, okay, b squared equals, because I know I'm solving for that side. So I said a b squared equals 7 squared, right, is the a, plus 3 squared, that's 3 is the c, minus 2 times a, which is 7, times 3, which is c, times the cosine of angle B. So the cosine of 130 degrees. Okay? I know the formula seems a little bit confusing, but if you just take a look back into what you're plugging in, you're like, make sure you label everything, your A, your B, and your C. And I think that will be easier for you. Okay? And you're going to have these formulas in front of you at all times. All right, so I get b squared is equal to, if you throw this whole thing in your calculator, I do it in steps, like I did 7 squared plus 3 squared, I got 58, minus, that's that minus, and then if you do 2 times 7 times 3 times the cosine of 130, you actually get negative 26 point whatever. So now you have 58 minus here a negative 26, which means you have plus 58 plus 26, which is 84. And remember, it does say b squared. So that means we have to take the square root of each side. Okay, so we're going to take the square root of b squared. We're going to take the square root of 84, and we should get that b is equal to 9.2, which is what I had over here also. Okay, so we're plugging things in. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're plugging sides in, we're plugging angles in wherever necessary. Okay, and we want to, again, we want to try and label our triangles A, B, and C. I think that would be much more helpful for you. Okay, so for number 3, if you take a look at the next example, it says the lengths of the sides of a triangle are 5, 10, and 12. Solve the triangle. Okay, so what information are we given? We're given side, side, side. So again, that means we have to use law of cosines. So the only thing we have to solve for in the triangle are the angles. Here's a really important note about solving for the angles. When you are using law of cosines, you see my note here? You have to solve for the biggest angle first. It's a rule, and if I was with you, I would probably be able to explain it more. Again, over the computer, what I need you to understand or what I need you to know is to solve for the biggest angle first if you're using law of cosines. Okay, so let's do that. So here's where I made my triangle, right? And of course, I again labeled it A, B, and C. Doesn't matter what A, B, and C are, no. I could have put A up here, I could have put B down here, and I could put C down here. Doesn't matter. I just label it like that. Okay, great. So then I labeled it 5, 10, and 12. So do you know what your biggest angle is? Guess for me. Great job. It's angle C because 12 is the biggest side, and angle C, in my case, right, is across from the biggest side. So your biggest angle is always across from your biggest side and vice versa. Your medium side is always across from your medium angle. And your smallest angle is always across from your smallest side. Okay? So here we go. We have we're going to solve for the biggest angle first. Okay, so what I need you to do is go back up to the notes up here, and you're probably going to have to write this down. Here, I kind of manipulated these formulas for you. Normally, we would have done that together, but again, over a computer, it's easier if I just give them to you. If you want to try it, go for it. But this is what we're going to be using to solve for angles. And if you remember, when you solve for an angle, you need to use what in those calculators? Good, the -1. So you're either, so you're using the cosine -1 in your calculator. Okay, so what's going to happen is we're going to plug all this in, right? And then we're going to use cosine -1 at the end. All right, so let me show you. Here we go. Okay, so there's my side. So I'm going to use, because I know it's, I'm trying to solve for angle C, I'm going to use this guy right here because I'm solving for angle C. Okay, so you're plugging in side A, side B, and side C, dividing it by 2 times side A times side B. All right, let's take a look. If you need to pause it at all just to like see what I'm saying, please do. So cosine C is A squared, right? A. And you can even write down like, okay, I know that this is A. Maybe that will help. So you know exactly what to plug in. This is C, and this guy is B, right? Okay, so you're plugging in A squared, so 5 squared, plus B squared, so plus 10 squared, minus C squared, so minus 12 squared. Okay, you're going to throw all that into a calculator, get an answer. Then you're going to divide by, and if you're doing this in your calculator, this whole thing has to be in parentheses. So in other words, you have to do 2 times 5 is 10, and 10 times 10 is 100. So it should look like this is what you're dividing. In other words, in your calculators, don't do -19 divided by 2 times 5 times 10. It'll give you a totally different answer. So do the numerator first, you get -19, then do the denominator, you get 100. So now what you're doing, remember, you're solving for the angle. So what you have to do and say, okay, well then cosine of -1, plug it in your calculator, of -0.19. And that I'm getting -0.19 from this guy, from -19 divided by 100, right? So you could have done cosine -1, -19 over 100. And you should get, what should you get? You should get that angle C is 101 degrees. Okay. I'm going to make sure all calculators are in degree mode. Okay, so from here, I got these other two. I actually use the law of sines for these, because now that I have my biggest angle, now I can go back to law of sines, because I have all my information, right? So let's go back up to my triangle, my picture. So I know that angle C, right, is 101 degrees. Great. So now I'm going to set up law of sines. In other words, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to try in here. Sine of 101 over 12, right? Because sine 101 goes with 12. I'm doing this so I can, a little bit neater writing for you guys. Over 12 is equal to, let's solve for, I don't know, sine B. It doesn't matter at this point. So let's do sine B over, and what side does angle B go with? Let's take a look. Angle B goes with 10. Okay, so put that over 10. All right, so here we go. I know these are a little long, so you can, these notes are a little long, so you can pause it and come back to me if you need to. Okay, so let's cross multiply, right? So sine 101 times 10. Pause for a moment. Okay, unpause. So sine 101 times 10 is, you're going to get 9.82, let's say, okay, equals, and then we're going to do sine B times 12. Okay, great. So then we're going to divide by 12, right? So let's do 9.82 divided by 12. Great, divide by 12 on both sides. So take your 9.82, and I'm just keeping it in my calculator. Oh, sorry guys, hold on one second. Oh. Okay, so and I'm going to divide by 12, and I get 0.82, right? So we're going to say sine B is equal to 0.82. So now, again, you're solving for an angle, so you have to do your sine -1. So we're going to do sine -1 of 0.82. Okay, 0.8. Oh, there we go, 2. Wow, there's my writing that I'm sure you all missed. So let's do that in the calculator. Oh my goodness, my calculator is being such a pain in the neck. Being a bozo, sorry. Okay, so sine -1, and you should get 54.8. And look, I rounded to the nearest whole degree, so 55 degrees. Okay, so there we go. You should have gotten angle B is equal to, and why am I not doing this in, hold up. Okay, we're going to say angle B based on here, over here. Can you see that? Okay, so sine, oh my goodness, sorry guys. Not my best notes today. So we're going to say angle B is equal to 55 degrees, right? And you can put the whole degree symbol. And then now that you have that, well, now you can just solve like a regular triangle. So I know that angle B is 55 degrees, right? So that's 55. So now I can just say, okay, well, what's 55 plus 101? And then I can subtract from 180, right? So I can do 55 plus 101 and then subtract from, I don't know what I'm doing, 55 plus 101 and subtract from 180, and you should get 24 degrees, which is what I got over here. Okay, I know this seems really confusing. Use those formulas. So you first have to figure out, are you solving for a side? And if you are, you're using one of these. Or are you solving for an angle? And if so, you are using one of these, and you're using cosine -1. Okay, let's turn to the back really quick. I'll try and make this one a little bit quicker. Okay, so triangle has lengths, has side lengths of 6, 12, and 15. So again, what are you given? You are given three sides. That means, did I write this down right? You're given side, side, side. So you have to use law of cosines. Okay? And it says, find the measure of the smallest angle. Fine. I'm not asking you to find the biggest, in this case, you don't have to find the biggest angle first because I'm specifically saying find the measure of the smallest angle. All right, well, what would your smallest angle be? Here we go. I'm going to set up my triangle. And notice how I did it? It doesn't, like, now I put A over here this time, B over here, and C over here because it doesn't matter, okay? So I put across from angle A, I put 6, across from angle B is 12, and across from angle C is 15. So in my triangle, angle A is the smallest, okay? So why don't you give this a try using your angle formulas from the previous page. And why don't you pause this, give it a try, and then I'll come back, and then come back to me. So if you tried it, this is what you should have gotten. The measure of angle A is 22 degrees. And the reason being is because you're setting up cosine of A, because we're solving for angle A, is equal to, all right, you ready? Here, I'm going to try it here, peeps. Is cosine of A is 12 squared, because that's your B squared, plus your C squared. This is 12 squared plus 15 squared, because that's your C, and then you're going to subtract your A squared. So you're subtracting 6 squared, and you're dividing that all by 2 times B times C. So 2 times 12 times 15. Okay, so remember, you're going to plug the top into the calculator, then you're going to plug the bottom into the calculator, and then you're going to take the angle whose cosine is. So you're going to do the cosine -1 of all of this. Okay, and you should get the measure of angle A is 22 degrees. And that's where we're stopping. Okay, give the Google form a try, and we'll see what happens. All right, no worries. You know, don't stress. If you have any questions about it, make sure you just shoot me a text or send me a message on Google Classroom. All right, thanks, guys.